What is up everybody, it's Adrian here from IAmJadoreTV. I have another editing video for you. Well, I say another, I haven't done one in a little while. You guys have been asking for it. So this picture I already posted on my Instagram if you haven't seen it already. It wasn't this exact one, it was from this set. Like, it didn't look too different, but going back I saw this one and I preferred this one to do the editing video on. So yeah, I had a lot of people asking me how I got the rose petals in the foreground and background of the image, and I'm going to show you how to do all of that, literally all within the picture. You don't need anything extra, like you don't need to go download any extra PNG files or stuff like that. I'm going to show you how to do everything. I'm going to go step by step, a live edit. I haven't even edited this picture before. Obviously I edited a different one from the set, as I said earlier. So yeah, we're gonna have a live editing tutorial of how I went about editing this photo. So let's get into it. So first, I always sometimes I go to collaboration first, but today I'm going to start with the profile. If you haven't used the profiles before, I suggest you have a look. It's a good starting point. It's almost like a filter. I wouldn't say it's like a filter because I don't just press it and then that's the photo done. There's a lot that goes into it, but it's a good starting point. Tones and maybe highlights and shadows that's quite hard to achieve. Maybe if you're not that experienced with using the curves, the RGB curves to create the colors in the highlights and shadows, this would be a good option for that. So yeah, these I tend to usually, this was an indoor shot. This was literally shot in my home studio. Literally just natural light coming in from the sides, and that's literally all the light source. You can see this is a very dark image to start off with. But if it was outdoors, I'd usually stick to landscape. That's most of my pictures I start with. I'll just show you what landscape looks like. Have you seen it's like a soften, it just softens the image a bit. But or vivid is what I use a lot, but I think it's a bit too harsh to bring back shadows. I like artistic 4 because I like what it does to the greens in the images. So if you just see literally before and after, do you know what I mean? You can see the slight tone difference in the greens and the oranges there, the skin tone there. So that's why it's, as I said, it's just a good starting point. What else? We're gonna go to temperature. I want this a bit warmer for the effect that I want, and the tint. See what that's like. Yeah, let's go a bit down. Then I think that's fine there. I might tweak it again, but we're going to go. Obviously we need exposure there, and as you can see, look at that, just a little slight adjustment changes the image. And as you can see, as I brightened it, you can see a bit more of the skin tone. I might bring it down a bit, see the temperature, give it a more natural feel to the skin. Contrast, I'm gonna go a bit less on the contrast here. Lowering the contrast also does give it a bit more light as well. So if you can see what it does there. That's normal at 0, and this is going into minus. You can see it gives it a bit more, brightens the image slightly, but I don't need that much contrast as it's quite a contrasty image already. Highlights, I'm going to bring the highlights up, and I want to soften the highlights. I don't want it to be so harsh. So what we're going to do, bring the whites down. As you can see, it kind of smoothens out, it evens out that light, so you can see on the forehead there, because when I put the whites back, you can see it's just slight, it's a slight change, but It's all noticeable. Leave that about there. Blacks. Don't think it. You can raise the blacks if you want that kind of hazy look, but I'll leave it slightly there. Highlights, I believe, can go up quite drastically. Normally, these values wouldn't be so drastic, but as I said, the original image, if we look back, you can see the major difference. Like, it was a very, very dark image. So yeah, going back on this shoot, which I shot last year some point, just after summer, and going back on it, I decided to edit it, and it turned out really great. That's why, another reason why I don't like to delete images, just because you can go back and re-edit them. So yeah, you can see the major difference here just from those few tweaks that we've done already. So yeah, I'm gonna leave the blacks about there. Texture, I feel like texture is if you want to soften the image, if it's a bit like, it's a bit too sharp, or do you know what I mean, if you want to hide some blemishes or something like that, or if let's say you have a shot that was slightly out of focus, you could raise it and it can add some more texture and detail. I'm gonna do a little bit of texture. I didn't miss in this shot, I like to add a little bit more texture. Clarity, you can add a little because it gives it a bit of punch. And dehaze, I like dehaze a lot. What I usually do for my shots is I tend to decrease the contrast and then up on the dehaze tool. I feel like it's a different version of contrast and it affects different areas. It looks slightly different. It's less harsh in my opinion, but I like to raise that a bit. Shadows, I find this image doesn't really bring up much. As you can see, it doesn't really do much. It's more the exposure that does a lot on this image. I might even bring it up a bit more, and then I'm gonna make the blacks just there. Just bring the blacks down a bit, and what I'm gonna do, I get rid of this. I don't want this to do any of the sharpening for me. I do like color noise reduction. It just blends the colors a bit better. So I'll leave that, turn sharpening off. And the color mixer, we want that red to be very prominent. That's one of the main parts of the image. So definitely gonna bring that up. And also what you can do with this little targeted adjustment tool here is what you can do. If you set that back, you can use a targeted adjustment tool. So if you just want a certain color in your image, you just click this here, drag it up or side to side, whichever one, and you can see it actually is affecting some of the orange. If you can see the sliders at the side, you can see it's going up and down. So it's actually got some orange, it's detecting some orange in this, which I don't mind, but it's going to change her skin tone a little bit. We'll change that just there, like that. And luminance, because we want to bring that way up. And the saturation of the green, again we use this tool here. Again, that's detecting some yellow in there. And that is pretty much pretty much all we're going to do for the editing in the Camera Raw. And by the way, all the equipment that I use for this will be in the description below, so definitely check that out. I shot this with the 85 Meike at f2 just for that a bit more sharpness, and it hits a bit better. But this isn't bright enough for me. The rose is not bright enough for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the radial filter. I want to reset that. Make sure you always reset it. And I'm just going to place it over the rose, and we are going to make sure that's got more highlights there. It's just brighter. And what we can do is you can use the select adjustment, so we can use this paint over it. And what you can do is you can use the erase tool to erase the areas that you don't want the effect to go on. So we don't want it to go here, so we're just gonna paint on those areas, make it a bit smaller, that we kind of don't want it to go on. And increase the flow a bit. There we are. Can even bring it up a bit more. And that's the rose done there. So that's the first step. That's the first step what I do, what I did for this image. What else do we need to do? I'm just not liking so much this skin tone. I want to change the skin tone. So what I'm going to do, there we go. It's a bit more natural skin tone there. Yeah, that's lovely. Just that slight adjustment. Is that if you use the color mixer and you find you're not getting quite the amount of control that you want, just go to the calibration at the bottom. This is the primary, the colors. You can change the green hue, red hue, blue, and the saturation is kind of more overpowering than just using the color mixer. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to color grading as well. What I'm going to do in the highlights, I just want to add, and this is relatively a new feature as well, they didn't have this in Camera Raw that long ago. I'm just gonna adjust where I want this. And yeah, you're gonna fix the highlights here. That was mid-tones, this one. This is the highlight. Actually, I'm gonna make this blue just to clean up the image. I'm gonna keep that blue, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a bit of yellow into the shadow. Just there. So yeah, that is it for me. That's what I would do in here. We've obviously got a few more steps to go, but that's pretty much what the editing. So if you look at the before and after now, it's a completely different image completely different image. And look at that, this is sort of the Canon EOS RP, as you can see at the top here. EOS RP, and the third party Meike 85mm, it's £150 lens with the budget RP. And look at the dynamic range, it's absolutely amazing. That was literally, it looked like next to, like, literally black. It's only a slight amount of light coming in here, and the walls in my studio at that in this shot are black, so there's no reflective light apart from this small light that was coming in through the side of the window. And look at what we can pull back from it. Just amazing dynamic range for such a small price. So we're going to go ahead and open this into Photoshop. So the first thing you want to do, you want to get rid of the blemishes. So what I'm going to do is zoom in a bit, go to the spot healing brush, and we're just gonna get as many blemishes off the skin as possible. I like to use this because I don't like to use too much skin smoothing or retouching that much, because I want to maintain as much of the natural skin texture as possible. So whatever skin smoothing method you use, I try to keep that to a minimum. So I use this just to get rid of the bits that actually need to go, just like these little. I'm just doing this quickly for the sake of the video. You obviously can, if you're a very perfectionist, you can zoom in and get as many of these off as possible. I just want to get these sort of small stray hairs off of the face. Now I'm going to use the healing brush just to get the same texture from the skin, because I don't want this ridge to be here. So I'm going to select this brighter area here, and I'm just going to paint over it just to match, just so it doesn't look like there's a ridge in the model's face. Alright, so I'm happy with that. So what else I'm going to do, I'm going to use some dodge. I don't think I need any burn because there's quite a lot of shadow, but I do want to get some dodge in here. I'm going to select the brush, opace, I'm going to put the flow to 1. I'm just going to lightly do this because I don't want it too much. Dodge and burn can make it look quite too fake for me. I still want to keep it quite natural looking. So I'm just going to lightly do some of this. And it doesn't look like much is happening right now, but you'll see when I turn the effect on and off. A bit under the eye, a bit in the cheek here. The chin, of course. You just want to go over where everything is already got light coming. If you turn that on and off, look at the difference. Just gives it that more 3D feel. If we zoom out, you can see the difference there already. And what I'm going to add some to the collarbone as well. I'm just going to add some here, collarbone, neck, just here, just a bit, just so you can see, just that little touch there. Also, whatever skin smoothing or retouching method that you use, there's plenty of videos out there already if you want to look into that, because that's a whole nother video for skin retouching. So I have mine set to a hotkey. What I do is select the background, select skin smoothing in, and it automatically just does all those steps for me. Put this to 100 again. I'm just going to paint over the skin where I want the skin smoothing to apply. Now as you can see, this looks way overdone. Make sure I get under the eyebrows. Now this looks way overdone. So what we're going to do is you want to keep in a range of 25 to 30. And I like to keep it the lower end just so it maintains more of the skin texture. So there we go, 25. As you can see, if you zoom in, you see the difference. Not a major difference, actually that's quite good. The model has quite good skin anyway, but it's enough for the photo. So now that is done, what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to brighten the eyes. So I'm going to do a zoom in. I am going to go to adjustments, curves. I'm just going to brighten up the eyes. I'm just going to raise that up. Raise this up a bit as well. And what you want to do here is Control I, because that inverts the layer. It's just like a blank canvas you can paint on. Select the brush tool, opacity is at 100 and flows at 100. Just want to paint around the center of the eye. There are other ways you can do this. This is just the quickest, simplest way. Just want to make sure you get all around and zoom out just to see the effect. That's too bright for me, very unnaturally bright, so we're going to bring it down to about 60. That's enough, maybe a little bit down. 50 is alright with me, that's fine with me. Now what we're gonna do, now here is the magic. Now instead of going on Google trying to having issues finding PNG files for rose petals or whatever you're trying to add into the image, if you've got it in, like if you're here, if for example you have the rose here, I'm going to teach you a little trick. You want to use the select tool and you want to select just one petal from here. Doesn't matter if it's that neat or not. And you want to press layer via copy. So you want to right click it, layer via copy. Then there you go, there's a rose petal, and it has the light. It has the light coming in from the exact angle because it actually is in the picture, so you don't have to start adding in light and painting on it. It's sort of right there. And what you can do is Control T. Now you can enlarge this. If you hold the Alt key down, you can enlarge it where it is instead of just one corner. So I'm gonna make this quite big. I'm gonna put this here. Put this up here actually. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add blur. So I'm going to do filter, blur, motion blur, and it's going to have it coming in at an angle. So this circle right here is the angle that it will be falling in. It's the motion that it's falling in. So I want to increase this quite a bit more actually. There we go. That's that for me. So I'm gonna put that lower actually. If I keep that about here. And what you can do is you can copy this layer. So if you just Control J, You can copy that, Control T, right click, you can flip it, convert and horizontally and whatnot. You can change the size. If you press Control, you can actually change the actual shape of it. So you can do that. Put this one here. Unchange the size of this one. That can go over here. And vertically for me as well. So that one's there. And what we're going to do, we're going to get another one. Let's get this one. That's a bit big. If you select too much, just hold the Alt key down and you can undo the area that you don't want to select. Right click again, layer via copy, move it to where you want. I'm going to bring this one by the face. Again, filter, motion blur. We don't want it, we want this one sort of in focus, so we're going to bring that to about 160, even more. .92 is fine. Click OK. We can move that on, move that to about here. And again, we're going to get another one because we're going to put some in the background as well as the foreground. So we're going to, let's choose a different one this time. Let's choose this bit here. Now, as you can see, it got a little bit of the background. We don't want that, so we're going to hold Alt. We're going to get that just there. There we go. Layer via copy again. We're going to select this, and this one's going to go at the back. Control T, make that a bit bigger. Now this one's going to be quite blurred because it's going to be in the background, so motion blur. At 257 there. I actually want this quite larger as it's quite dark. We're going to bring that to about here. Now I'm going to copy this one and move it to this side as well. What I'm going to do, flip it just to make it look different, and vertical. There you go. And here is another trick. So I'm going to, the last three I'm going to bring up to the top. The layer 3 should I say, I'm going to bring to the top because I'm going to turn these two off and see which one. I'm going to turn that one off and I'm going to select the head area. Now you can select as much as you want, but we don't need to select that much. It doesn't matter if it's neat or not, you just need to get just this side and this side, or the most important parts. Again, layer via copy. Now that's done, I'm going to move this just under the layer 3 and you'll see what effect that actually has. I'm going to bring that up as well, layer 2. Just going to bring layer 2. There we go. So these are at the back there. This is just there. I think we can do one more. I think we should do one more. Actually, I'm happy with that. I'm actually happy with that. And lastly, what we're going to do is, as well, that's the finishing touch, we're going to go to adjustment layer, gradient, and what we're going to do is select radial. And what we're going to do here, we can adjust the scale. We don't want it that big. We'll leave it about here, coming in from the top. And we're going to select, we'll just click on the gradient, double click so you can change the color. Click OK, double click the other side. You can add 2 colors just so it doesn't fade to white. We don't want it to fade to white, we want it to fade to a light orange, a light yellow. That's fine. I'm gonna change the saturation of this. It's a bit too powerful. That's fine. Change the saturation of this as well. Click OK, and you can play around with the area you want it to come in at. I think that's fine. Click OK. You can just change the opacity just as a slight. I think 58 is fine. I'm going to double click it because I want to move it. There we go, click OK. I'm going to bring this up a bit, just playing around until you can do it to whatever suits you. I just want a slight. And I think there we have it. That is the finished product. So if you see the before and the after, which I'll put up on the screen for you guys, you can see drastically how this was a simple shot, literally shot in my home studio, one room. It was a plain black wall, and we had just one window light coming in, and as you can see from the before, it is drastically changed a lot. Like when I looked back on these pictures, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't use it, it's too dark. That just goes to show the crazy dynamic range of this quote unquote not professional camera. And this is a third-party lens that costs no more than £150 or dollars. And this is the kind of quality that you can get from this camera. I mean, this blew me away that I could bring this back so much from, as you can see, the original post. But yeah, this is love this little camera, and this is what you can do with budget gear. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Any questions, let me know. This picture is up on my Instagram. It's at IAmJadoreTV, so don't forget to give me a follow on there as well. I'm much more active on there, so check out what I get up to day to day. And yeah guys, let me know. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.